Hey everyone, Siam here, and hopefully a bunch of you have got my book and read it or reading it at the moment, and hopefully you're enjoying it. We've had some issues with Amazon getting it listed on Amazon and therefore getting the audiobook out. So what I thought I'd do is put the first chapter of the audio book on this video. I recorded the audiobook about 3 months ago now, so it's rather frustrating. But anyway, hope you enjoy chapter 1, and I genuinely wish you the best this year. This is going to be a mega bull run, and be allocated. Okay, see you in a bit.
Get filthy rich between 2025-2030 with crypto and robots. How to completely change your life by riding some predictable patterns. This book is not for the fragile, closed-minded, or Karens. But if you want to completely change your life to the upside over the next 5 years, then this book is definitely for you. Unlike most crypto books out there, you will learn actionable information to implement in order to really maximize this pending 2025 crypto bull run, and what sort of robot and AI businesses to set up that will thrive moving forward. This is also the perfect book to give your normie non-coiner friends to get up to speed with crypto and AI. So buckle up, this will be an odd book to read, but oh so worth it.
Chapter 1. What on earth has happened since my last book, The Crypto Book? Wow, since my last book, The Crypto Book in 2017, it's been one hell of a roller coaster. Not only in the world of financial markets, but massively in my personal and business life. I've ummed and ahed a fair while about whether I should write a new book or not, but seeing as we are on the cusp of something truly magnificent in terms of economic, tech, and societal seismic shifts, I had to. More as a matter of duty. The period between 2025 and 2030 will be, in my opinion, the greatest change in human history. You think the last 5 years have been crazy? That was simply the hors d'oeuvre. There are great and horrific things inbound for us during this time frame. But one thing that this will 100% present to us all is opportunity. Opportunity is there for us all. But in order to seize it, first you need the prerequisite knowledge in a niche, perhaps some skill, but more importantly, big hairy balls to leap off into the unknown void of uncertainty to grab it or even fight for it. In a world that seems increasingly unfair, I genuinely believe that this is the single easiest period of humanity where anyone can irrevocably change and improve their life for the better. If you've ever wondered how you would have done if you were an adult during the internet boom in the 1990s, well, now this is your chance. What we are about to experience is that bubble times 100. As I'll explain later in this book, we are at the hockey stick part of the exponential growth curve for several techs that are about to massively uptick in levels. Industry booms the same scale or bigger than the internet, such as AI, robotics, space travel, crypto, additive manufacturing, battery/solar, and many more. Not only that, the crossbreeding of these techs will sprout things we can only dream of. So this book is a map of how an average Joe like you and I can properly capitalize on this. I'll try my best to arm you with all the necessary information so that you can absolutely nail these coming cycles and provide a better life for your kids. But as always, it's all down to you. It's your actual actions and chronic perseverance in those actions that will determine your success. As the once awesome but now overused and cheesy saying goes, choose self-development, not shelf development. So please action as much as you can from this guide. Now I know this isn't a self-therapy book and you're probably here for the alpha, crypto slang for hot crypto info, but having a slightly vicarious peep into my world will shed a lot of context. Context on how I view and attack life, how I've been consistently on the money with crypto, and the big learning points from many of the personal, biz, and crypto F-ups I've done and dealt with since just 2017. Some may feel that this first chapter is me being a bit of a Debbie Downer, but I feel it's important to be transparent as possible, to air out all of the things one typically doesn't see when you're observing all the successes someone is supposedly having. Because one thing I can assure you, with great success, there is a whole train of baggage and mental pain that one has to endure during this process. And it's this struggle that is the actual test of success in any field. It's the filter that weeds out the wannabes and weak-willed. The amount of success you can achieve really does come down to what level of uncomfort you're willing to embrace until you hit your goals. For example, the reason I don't have a beautiful Adonis-like body of a gymnast is mainly down to bacon and chocolate reasons. I love junk food too much and not willing to sweat for hours in the gym each week and put my body under constant strain. For now, I'll continue tucking into my Fox's Viennese milk chocolate dipped fingers. So until I'm mentally prepared and willing to undergo that constant pain, I will remain out of shape. Well, more of a dad bod shape than a triangle-shaped ninja warrior. So for me, the battlefield I've selected to enter and go through the trenches is the arena of wealth generation, which for me is trading, investing, and business. And unfortunately, the trials and tribulations very much spill over into your personal life when things go south. A bad day in the business or the markets is nearly always worse than a bad day in the gym. So I guess it's time to lift up my skirt and share the brutal reality of a wealth generation warrior. For my OCD-ness, I'll split these up into personal shizzle and then business shizzle. Personal shizzle. I'm sat here writing this first chapter in my underwear at home in March 2024, just 7 years after my last book, and I've already grown a bit of grey hair. I'm only 38. That's one of the untold tolls that business and crypto will have on you. You can't just punch out of work, go home and dump all your work thoughts until you clock into work the next morning. If you get into business or crypto, prepare for it to completely occupy most of your brain at all hours, every single damn day. But it's oh so worth it. Where do I begin? Brace yourself. There's a lot, but some very salient learning points to be had by the end. In 2018, a friend committed suicide, which was weird as he had everything going for him. And I grew apart from 4 very good friends due to various reasons. I'm still saddened by this, but I guess sometimes if you're growing in various aspects and others are not, friendship drift is a real thing. So my social life basically evaporated as I was head down and arms swinging, as most parts of my life were crumbling for most of the last 7 years. My mum, I miss her immensely, and I'm also still angry at her. Long story short, she hid from the family that she had cancer for 12 to 15 months. By the time she told us, it was the size of a large egg and too late. Not only that, 3 other cancers around the body had weirdly, independently formed. It didn't spread, just 3 separate cancers all formed at the same time. All 4 consultants were puzzled. They all happened exactly a year after her COVID jabs, which I fiercely tried to stop her from doing at the time. Either way, her silence and stubbornness prevented her curing, and she fled back to Thailand, which made everything harder. I tried everything I could to help. No amount of money thrown at the matter could help, as she wasn't willing to receive help. It's a long, convoluted, and crazy story, but ultimately, she passed away on the 7th of March, 2023, aged 67. Devastatingly young, and my kids barely got to know her. Also, the 3-day Thai funeral process really is a shock to the system and hard to process for a Westerner. Also, she was my dominant parent. Most of my neural baggage stems from my relationship with my mum, so I was mentally hit for 6 for the latter end of 2022 and early 2023. I miss you, Mum. Not a single day passes without thinking of you. Like all marriages, we've had some rocky times, but we were pretty close to the wire at points. But gratefully, we are a solid unit, and she really is simply the most incredible person. I'm really punching here, but don't tell her that. It's amazing at how crap life can be when you're at loggerheads with your significant other. You could literally be a billionaire and life would still feel shit if you're not on good terms with the long-haired general. But seriously, Mrs. K is a keeper that's been through thick and thin with me over the years, and she's the best damn mother to our two little sprogs. Personal life learning points. Due to 20 years of trading experience, I know that the biggest variable in your trading and investing game is your mental state. Your trading performance is the first thing in your life that will go to pot if your personal life is deteriorating. I'm chronically aware of this, but being as mentally stubborn as my mum, I thought I could mitigate it all. I mean, after all, supposedly being a big swinging dick 20-year trading veteran, I'd be able to compartmentalise stuff and keep my trading completely isolated from it all. Yeah, that never happens. Even with people who have far better mind control than myself fall to bits. Who was I kidding? Tiger Woods in the golfing world is renowned for being extremely mentally focused. But look what happened to his golf when his personal life got iffy. So yeah, the biggest learning point here is that if times are hard, either don't trade or reduce your position sizes by a factor of 10. Literally trade at 1/10 of your size and 1/10 of your frequency until life improves. Trust me, it will save your pot. To be clear, it's not like I blew up my capital. I just had month after month of negative returns. Ignoring crypto market moves, my actual trading performance was like minus 30%. The key thing to do in rocky times, which is an SOP, standard operating procedure for me now, is to stop trading/investing for a minimum of 1 to 3 months. Casually observe price action, but have a clear mental break from it all. Then when you return, paper trade for a month, and then trade live again with diminished position sizes for another month, until you get your mojo back. Don't think that your trading is the only thing that will be affected when you're in a freeze, flight, or fight mentality. It will spill over into every nook and cranny of your life, from health, eating habits, and more importantly, your business life. Business shizzle. Geez, I really don't know where to begin. So much has happened since 2017. I set up a mergers and acquisitions private equity firm in 2016, raised a lot of money from a lot of investors, and it went so well, until it didn't. I must have bought between 12 to 15 businesses in about a 2-year period. I was doing distressed biz acquisitions in the hope of saving them and turning them around, Theopathetus style. But the thing is, a distressed biz is distressed for a good reason. It's buggered. Due to a plethora of reasons. So there were a load of ventures which I couldn't save, which resulted in time and money wasted. Of course, when things were going fine, everyone was friendly. But the moment things started to wobble, some of the investors got their pitchforks out. But thankfully, I've turned things around and things are on the up now. I should be able to double everyone's investment value soon and then do a total equity buyback. I'm a big stickler for my internal thank bank and don't like being in the red. So it's pleasing to see this do well now. I did some pre-IPO ventures. One went well. The second one, I basically got royally screwed over by my M&A mentor. His first IPO was great. So of course I invested in his second one. And the deal was £400,000 in, and if the IPO launches within 6 months, great. I get £400,000 worth of shares at 50 cents, and the stock will list on the stock market at €1. If the IPO stalls, you get your 400k back. Great. So the risk to reward seesaw was 100% ROI on my 400k within 6 months. If not, I'd just get it all back after 6 months. Was a great deal. Great contract, etc., etc. Long story short, IPO stalled and stalled. I gave many months of benefit of the doubt, but when I finally went to reclaim my £400,000 back, the answer was no. Cue 5 years of grief and heartache of trying to get back the 400k. I did eventually, but the legal fees and mental strain was unbelievable. The amount of money I missed out on from lost opportunity cost was obscene, 7 figures obscene. I bought 35% of a company when it was doing reasonable revenue but no profit. I was active in this biz, implemented all my normal biz growth tools, etc., and in just 2 years grew it from nothing to 250 to 350,000 pounds per month profit. I really felt like Billy Big Balls at the time. My shares were worth an easy £3 million. Until my business partner screwed me over. She literally stole my shares from me. Again, such a long story and legal battles and all sorts. Some hard to believe. All I got back was £50,000. Yeah, I'm still a bit bitter about that one. COVID and lockdowns were an interesting time. Some businesses did wonderfully, some died. One notable cluster mess was Float to Norwich. This is a business I effectively set up as a bit of a joke. When holidaying in various places, I kept seeing these awesome alien-looking pods called flotation therapy pods. It's basically a massive bathtub with half a ton of Epsom salts diluted into 12 inches of water, and you float butt naked in pitch black. The salt water is so dense a bowling ball floats on it. It's a lovely experience. But there were no flotation centres in East Anglia. Also, a pod was £23,000 and my wife said no to buying one for the house. So jokingly, I said, well, screw you, I'm going to buy 2 of them like a pair of shoes and set up a business so I can float for free. The hindsight pain. The most time-consuming, ball-aching experience ever. If you could list all the things that could go wrong with the business, they all happened with Float Norwich. In the space of 2 years, it had 5 managers. I had to fire one of my best friends for the second time, which unfortunately ended our friendship. Had a manager steal from other staff members. My in-house bookkeeper for that biz stole from me. Equipment breaking down. Being forced closed by the government during lockdowns. The list is endless. Not only that, I managed to sell the biz for a paltry £150,000. 50k up front, 100k deferred over 3 years. Not ideal as I had sunk 200k into that biz. But I wanted out. We did a 1-month handover. Everything was great. A sweet dental nurse and her boyfriend were buying it. She was using inheritance money to buy it, and the boyfriend was going to manage it and earn his keep via sweat equity. All was good, deal signed. I then went skiing for a week. Then 3 days later, the boyfriend just gave up and quit. Didn't bother turning up, and all I could see on social media were customers who had booked up, rocking up to a closed business. Disaster. Not only for the business and loyal clients, but for the girl. He really screwed her over. So whilst abroad, I made a deal to buy 90% of the biz back for £1. The plan was to build it back up again with a new manager. Use that £50,000 to add in a cryotherapy machine and £30,000 of Facebook marketing. Boost revenue big time, then sell the biz for 500k. That way, her 10% would get her 50k back. All was great. The 30k in adverts resulted in tens of thousands of sales. Things were looking good. Then national lockdowns hit. We weren't allowed to open, and I had to refund all customers. Unfortunately, I sold the biz again 18 months later to the existing manager, who is lovely. She lives and breathes floating. Sold it basically for a bag of crisps and a hug. Hey ho. I received a letter on the 23rd of December 2021 that the FCA were launching an investigation into me, my companies, and my trading activities. And that letter gave me 14 days to cough up every byte of data I had on pretty much everything. Great timing, hey? Fast forward 6 months of a total waste of my time, and the FCA concluded that I wasn't doing anything wrong. No shit, Sherlock. Turns out some vindictive troll somewhere put in a massive complaint to the FCA and egregiously exaggerated their claims. And just made claims up. I do hope that they told off this person for wasting mine and the taxpayers' money. Between 2020 and 2023, I had 3 separate lawsuits raging on. The amount lawyers make is ridiculous. Had great results from all those lawsuits, which I can't really talk about, but words cannot express the mental turmoil and blood-boiling anguish just one legal case brings, let alone 3 in parallel. Especially when a case is so ridiculous and frivolous that the judge actually reprimands the opposing side for wasting court time. Also doesn't help that whilst all this is going on, my 3 core businesses were failing miserably due to COVID, lockdown, and the distinct change in consumer buying patterns as a result of all that. This was also compounded from 2021 onwards, that if you had a B2C, business to consumer biz, because of the Apple versus Facebook fight, online ad costs quadrupled at a minimum. For years, I was literally liquidating big chunks of my crypto portfolio to cover biz costs like tax and payroll. Despite being reasonably successful, it was quite sobering going back to a period of being constantly skint in the businesses and having constant cash flow issues. Yeah, 2020 to 2023 were shit. Especially when I work out the lost opportunity cost of all the money I withdrew from my crypto to prop up the businesses. I shit you not, I've lost out on £12 million plus in opportunity cost. I knew at the time I was hurting future Siam and that the decisive action would be to cut off the gangrenous limbs, but I'm a softie and struggle to just make huge swathes of people redundant out of the blue. My mind as an employer is always fixated on the weighty point that your staff rely on you to pay their rent and mortgage for a roof for their family. So I tend to have a dim view on other biz owners who are too cutthroat in this manner. Hey ho, it's only a big game of Monopoly. Just need to pass go a few more times. Don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom in my life. Let's pepper in something positive. And that shining light of positivity and happiness was Steve Collins. His head is going to get so big after this paragraph when he reads this. For a number of years, I was actively searching for a crypto-savvy accountant. Seriously, they don't exist. Even in 2024, they are still like hen's teeth. I was actively trawling through LinkedIn and messaging anyone who remotely came close to my search parameters, as I was very much needing an accountant that was tax savvy, crypto savvy, and financial engineering savvy due to all my M&A stuff. I interviewed at least 12 people that showed some promise and then gave up. Then randomly met Steve. Norwich being Norwich, his youngest daughter was in the exact class as my oldest son. And guess what? He was an accountant that ticked every single box. He did huge oil and gas M&A deals, was a multiple business owner, and was even more of a crypto degen than I was, as he was obsessed with buying those stupid NFT monkeys and was just an all-round decent and trustworthy guy. So fast forward to now, we are 50-50 biz partners in many different ventures, and I don't regret it one bit. In business, people are generally obsessed with owning 100% of their empire and doing everything themselves. I too was one of those people. But when doing M&A, I realised that business is a wonky maths force multiplier type thing where 1 + 1 does not equal 2. But in some aspects, 1 + 1 = 5. So I was subconsciously looking for a biz partner to fully unlock that force multiplier, and it really does work. So if you're in biz, do look for a biz partner that is the polar opposite to you, and your biz will do even better. We joke that I now have 2 CAFOs. My wife has always been my chief anti-F-up officer. Steve is now my second CAFO. Business is very similar to golf in some respects. I like the analogy that golf is a series of tragedies obscured by the occasional miracle. A miracle shot that instantly purges the memory of all your shit shots. Business is just that. So despite all this crap over the last 7 years, Steve and I managed to sell a crypto private equity firm for £10.75 million, which is nice. So now we're waiting patiently for the earnout period to end and also for crypto to do its thing in 2025.
Business life learning points. Oh boy, there are too many to list. Seriously, I spent the best part of 2 days straight going through it all. in a workshop not long ago called the Nailing Life Workshop, the last ever one. You can get the recordings and much more at www.thewap.org. But in a nutshell, it's a similar learning point to the personal life bit. When times get tough, stop trading. You need to proactively protect yourself from yourself. My whole life was a real-life representation of this meme, and I was too pig-headed to take proper heed of it all. I thought I could compartmentalise it, but I failed. Picture 1. But one of the things I always say is that you need to fail your way into success. You need to treat life like a computer game and increase the frequency and amplitude of your failures and pivot fast. If you're going to fail on something, fail fast, not slow. Which is why my life ethos and mantra is do, fail, learn and pivot until you hit your goals. Picture 2. Right, enough about me. The only reason I've divulged all of that is I genuinely believe that these learning points here will save at least one person from having a truly terrible time. Also, the way I approach the wealth generation game is that you need 2 key components to attract wealth. You need 1, a cash-flowing vehicle, and 2, a capital appreciating vehicle. Obviously, like any vehicle, you need the knowledge, skills, and gumption to execute on that knowledge. But most people fail at wealth generation because they are rowing a boat in the middle of the Atlantic with no direction, no compass, and 1 oar. I'll save all the wealth gen stuff as it's all in the Wealth Action Plan, www.thewap.org. But the key thing is that you need both vehicles. You need something that will consistently and predictably produce cash flow. This is so you can sustain your life and also funnel funds into your investing pot. Then you need a good vehicle to consistently and predictably grow that capital. When you think about it, it's pretty logical, really. It's not particle physics. But even a concept so simple as this is not commonly found amongst the general populace. These 2 vehicles are the perfect yin and yang way to growing your personal net worth, and if you try and embark on your journey with just one of these vehicles, you'll be doing circles for a long time. I only discovered this by accident, by the way. About 15 years ago, I got to the point where I was a good trader and investor, but was broke. I was consistently making profits, but I barely had a cup to piss in. So I focused heavily into how to rapidly bump up my trading pot. The answer was business, and the rest is history. So, what on earth has happened in the crypto world since 2017? Loads. 2017. Bitcoin hit an all-time high of $19,876 in December 2017. ICO explosion, where basically any cruddy project managed to raise tens of millions in days. Ethereum sparked a whole new narrative with smart contracts. It went from 62 cents in Jan 2016 to $1,600 in Jan 2018. Just a cool, casual 103,000% ROI. 2018. The bear market begins. Bitcoin suffered an 84% correction and many others suffered worse. Regulatory agencies started to try and catch up as the public were at risk, which is really code for, we want a piece of this action too, so let's try and monopolise this new racket. 2019. The rise of the stablecoins began. People needed a way to sidestep the market so you could now exit into a dollar-pegged stablecoin, which should stay at $1. Not all stablecoins kept their peg. 2020. The third Bitcoin halving occurred, reducing block emissions from 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes to 6.25. The third bull cycle begins. Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, Bitcoin Jesus, deep dives into Bitcoin and dedicates his whole life and business to the hoarding of it, using his multi-billion-dollar company to borrow billions at 0 to 0.5% APR and plow it all into Bitcoin. As I write this in 2024, he is still borrowing and doing this. 2021. The NFT explosion. Effectively, stupid JPEGs were being sold for tens of thousands. Digital art hit mainstream. Despite my warnings to my community urging people to not buy NFTs, many did, and many lost their pot. It got so insane that someone NFT'd Jack Dorsey's first Twitter post and sold it for $2.9 million. That NFT is now worth less than $4. The bull cycle ends with Bitcoin peaking at $69k, a stellar rise from the low of $3,124. Not to be outdone, Ethereum went from a low of $99 to a high of $4,847. 2021 was a year of multiple large-scale crypto failures and explosions. Terra Luna, UST, 3 Arrows Capital, Celsius, Voyager, and most rebasing DAOs all blew up. There are over $3 billion worth of hacks and exploits too. Poly Network alone suffered a $600 million hack. That's a pretty bad day at the office. 2022. The bear market begins. Bitcoin suffered a 77% correction, and many others did worse. Cue Warren G's song, Regulators. This was the year the SEC and the FCA really started sharpening their claws and cracking down on everything crypto, especially the fiat on and off ramps, making it a bloody pain in the arse converting fiat into crypto and vice versa. 2023. The slow emergence out of the bear market and layer 2 scaling solutions were booming. Many fair launch coins, launched in 2022, were now starting to attract eyeballs. A fair launch coin is something that was released into the wild, just like Bitcoin was. No company, no team, no pre-sales, no VCs, no marketing pot, no private allocations. These coins started to do very well. The 2 main fair launch coins were BitTensor, TAO, and Casper, KAS. Cough, hint, cough. 2024. Too early to tell, but based on the last 3 cycles, this is the beginning of the bull market that should peak Q3, Q4 2025. After what seemed an eon, the SEC were finally forced into approving spot Bitcoin ETFs. I'll talk about this later.